Well, so Doug, here's a question. How can you tell the difference between a girl and a
Welcome back to the Tech School Podcast, powered by DSDT. I'm Josh.
I am Mr. Harris.
From Carlos to Cryptolos to now Mr. Harris. Good afternoon.
Top of the day to you, sir.
Hey, how are things going?
I don't know about you guys, but I'm so glad the 4th is over.
Why?
Man, it was long. It was just...
What made it long?
Too much going on. The heat, for one.
It's been hot here in Detroit.
It made it way too long. Had a lot of family and friends over.
Okay.
You know, a little festive time.
Good vibes.
Yeah, it was, but it was just long. I can tell you right now, if you come to the Harris's residence right now, it hasn't been cleaned. I'm just saying, it hasn't been cleaned.
Things are a little spread out or whatever.
Things still need to be cleaned up. If somebody's listening, I'm just saying.
Let me remove myself.
It's okay. So my wife was out of town this weekend.
Yeah. Where did Jamie go?
She went to a baptismal.
Oh.
So she went to the baptismal, left out Saturday, came back Sunday.
Okay.
You know, so Sunday I had this big ordeal prepared, and it was like, you know, had quite a few people over. So she was tired. I was tired.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, right. So yesterday, all we did was just more or less laid around the house in a dirty house.
Yeah.
But today, there's going to be some furniture moving at the Harris's. I'm just saying.
Gotta, get it back in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you know what? I've been waiting to have a conversation.
About?
Right.
Okay.
And I got to do this because I feel like, we almost are like, we have to be the champions of our community. We have to make sure that our community has all the knowledge it needs in order to make realistic. I want to say realistic, but I can't say that necessarily. But be able to have as much knowledge as possible in every area, every facet of their life.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily just technology. And I have to do this because it happened to me.
Okay.
All right. So, are you guys ready? I want to make sure that you guys, let me give you kind of like a segue into what took place. So, I was at the gas station, minding my own business, not bothering nobody. And this was Saturday. And I haven't even told my wife this. So you guys pay real close attention to what I'm about to say. All right? So I'm at the gas station, pumping gas, like I always do at the gas station. And I drive a big truck, and gas is extremely high right now. I mean, I noticed that it's gone down a few pennies, but gas is still extremely high for that Cadillac Escalade. So I'm standing there, and I'm pumping the gas, and a guy pulls up next to me. The guy is driving a nicer vehicle. He seems to be, if I had, could tell, he was of a Arab descent. Okay. Right? So I'm looking at him. He says to me, excuse me, buddy, do you live around here? I say, no. He says, where you from? I tell him. He was like, listen, I really need some help. Who, me? Yeah, I really need some help. I'm trying to get my family back home, and I've run out of money, and it's hard right now, and I'm just, anything you can do to help me, I really would appreciate it. Blah 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 blah. So I'm standing there and I'm looking at the guy. Now let me give you some context of what I'm about to tell you. When I was 18 years old, well actually 17, on my way to Michigan for the first time in my life to live, at the Greyhound bus station on Union Street in Memphis, Tennessee, I got scammed. Someone sold me a gold chain for $60 that experience I've carried with me for the entirety of my life, right? So you got to wake up pretty early in the morning to get one over on Carlos. The story continues. So I look at the guy. He looks well dressed,
okay.
And I'm saying to myself, it's a scam. It's a scam. But at the same time, the door slides open on the vehicle. There's a woman sitting there in her Muslim garb.
Yep.
And she's holding a kid. And she's like, sir, anything you can do for us, please, please, please. We're just trying to get home. And I'm looking at her, man, and I'm looking as intent as you're looking right now. And the guy, he takes off a ring. He takes a gold ring off. He says, listen, man, anything you can do for me. I look at the ring. Pretty nice ring, big ring. And I'm saying to myself, like, this is a scam. But here she is, pressure, bust a pipe. Sir, anything you can do for us? And I'm looking at the kid. And the kid is sitting there looking at me with big brown eyes. And I'm like, and so he says, listen, man, I'm from California. I'm just trying to get back home. I go to the back of the vehicle. I look, they got California plates. So I go, I look at the gas tank. The gas tank is on a fourth of a tank. Because I know, remember now, I'm driving the Cadillac Escalade. Gas is high out here. I'm just saying, right? So I stand there for a minute. I look at the guy. And my wife always tells me, do not carry cash.
No.
But do I ever listen to my wife, guys? Y'all know that, right? do I ever listen to her?
No.
So I have a pocket full of cash,
Ooh.
right? And so what do? I reach into my pocket and I give him $100. I give him $100 for the gold, well, for the ring, but more so to help, you know? And before I can get the 100 out my hand good enough, he takes off a bracelet and a ring. A bracelet and a ring. And he says, listen, please, sir, if you could help me, please, please, please. I'm just trying to get my family back home, blah, blah, blah. Now, in my mind, they're from California. In my mind, I have never, ever, never seen someone that was of Muslim descent run scams. I'm just saying what Carlos has experienced. Now, you guys know my history, right? So, again, you got to wake up early in the morning to pull one over on Carlos. So I sit there looking at the chain, looking at the rings. I'm saying to myself, this is fake. This is fake. But, again, that baby laying there with those big brown eyes, the woman who I perceived as the mother saying, sir, please, please, could you please help us? Could you please help us? And what do? I reach in my pocket and I give him another $100.
You gave him
$200.
Okay.
I gave $200 that day, right? And I gave $200 because I remember what it was like to need help, right? I remember being stranded before. God forbid I would be out there somewhere with my family, you know, trying to make it to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So I say all of that, my good friend Josh, to say this. As soon as I get to my friend's residence, I began to tell him what happened. And before I can roll the story off my tongue, he says, was he Arab? I said, yeah. Was there a woman in the back holding the kid? I said, yeah. He says, Carlos, man, you just got scammed. I said, what? Hold on, not me. Not Carlos. You just got scammed. And so I pull out my phone. I start looking up for scams involving, gold rings, but YouTube. There has been stories written about this scam or video reports made about the scam all around the world. I've never heard of it. Never have I one time heard of anyone using their wife, girlfriend, whatever, in this type of garb, a religious garb, with a kid preying on individuals at a gas station. So I come here today, before we even get into the topic of discussion, to let everybody know to be aware of individuals who are posing themselves to be something other than, because they're preying on us. Now, this here is going to sit right here in the podcast room from here to eternity. It cost me $200. I don't even want to do an alloy test on it. You guys know what an alloy test is? I do, because when I was 18, I had one done on that necklace I got from the bus stop. Remember? It was fake, right? This here, I'm assuming that it's fake. Now, it's got stamped 18 karat gold or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, this is 100% a scam. So you guys need to be aware of what's going on in the community. I have this thing, and I don't know why my spider senses weren't tingling. You know, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
What made you say yes?
That kid.
How old would you say the kid was?
The kid had to be maybe 4 or 5. The kid had to be 4 or 5. And regardless of what the mother, uncle, friend, and the two of them are doing, the kid was innocent.
True.
You know? And even though I gave that, I still got it back later. I'm just saying. I got it back later.
By playing cards and whatnot.
I'm just saying. I still got it back.
Uh-huh.
I got it back. But it wasn't even about the money for me. Now, a lot of people would say, it's the money, it's the money, it's the money. $200 is a lot. Yeah, it may be a lot to certain people, right? But right now, the economy being in the shape that it is, everything that we're purchasing being as high as it is, I get it. At the end of the day, if I can do anything to ease someone else's distress, then that's what I'm going to do. And so, again, that's why, though, I want to share my experience with those of you who may be listening. Be on the lookout for those that are simply running scams. That's what they're there for. They're running scams. And I don't want you to be a victim like me. Maybe I can right now afford $200. You may not be able to.
No.
You know? You might not even be able to afford $20. You know, so just the next time that you're out, remember, they're looking to victimize anybody, and it doesn't matter whether you're a man, a woman, a child, or whatever. Scammers, they're going to scam, and that's just what they do. That's our public service announcement for the day.
Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
It's unfortunate because you do have people out there who really do need help.
Come on.
And it's going to make you second guess from here on out.
It's funny you should say that, my friend, because the next day I was at the gas station. Listen, Josh.
Don't tell me someone else came.
No, listen.
Don't tell me someone else came up to you.
Listen, I was at the gas station right down here on Verner, Southwest Detroit. And so I'm at the gas station. I'm getting 2 propane tanks because it's hard to get propane tanks out by where I live because of all the marinas. Anyways, so there's an older gentleman out here, and he's with a cane. And young man, you got a couple dollars, blah, 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 blah. But again, remember, what does my wife tell me? Don't walk around with cash in your pocket. Do I ever listen to my wife?
No.
No. So again, I got a pocket full of cash. I see this young man, and I just got the day before, but at the same time, he looks older. He's on a cane. Here, man, here's a couple dollars. You know, that incident does not deter me from being a good person and wanting to help people. Not in the least, right?
Good.
Anything that I can do, I will do at every junction that I possibly can. Now, don't get me wrong. If something tells me don't do it, then guess what? I'm not going to do it. But I think we all need to take a page of that. You know, things are so hectic right now, you know, the pandemic and then the economy, and a lot of us just need to step back and take a breath. It's okay to be a good person still.
I was out with friends over the weekend, my friend Chris and my friend Elijah, and we had a toast. And Chris gave a toast to good people are an endangered species. And so when you come across them, treat them as such.
You guys heard that, didn't you? I'm an endangered species. Not just because I'm black no more. I'm just saying.
Good people are an endangered species.
Absolutely.
Therefore, when you come across them, treat them as such.
I believe that wholeheartedly. So, you know, but again, I digress. I just don't want more people to be scammed. You know, it's kind of like you guys do these reports from time to time.
Absolutely.
You know, Hall of Shames. We want to make sure that people are
Be on the
aware.
lookout for this scam.
Absolutely, because I don't need anybody else being victimized. And by the way, I might go down there and sit and wait for him in my wife's truck.
I'm sure he might pop up again.
Probably popped up as soon as I left.
Yeah.
Knowing he had got me. But anyways, it's okay. So as we move right along. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that tonight we have a commencement. We're going to be having a graduation for the class of 2022. That's the winter 2021 and the spring 2022 class. So for those of you who are looking to attend, you can find it being live streamed on Facebook and on YouTube. And all you got to do is just go search DSDT. You'll come to the channel or the page, and it will be streamed there starting at 6 o'clock. All right?
Beautiful.
All right, cool. And so today's guest, today's guest is coming on to explain more probably to me than anybody about the different finance products that they offer. The company, and I'm sure a number of you guys probably already know, but we work with a company, one of our partners, and the name is Leif. And I don't really know a whole lot about Leif, and I know that the admissions representatives do because we've gotten a number of individuals who have been approved through the process. So they have the ability to be able to finance some of the programs here at DSDT that you guys would be interested in taking. So I definitely wanted to bring on a representative to have a conversation to explain to me what the heck is a CPP. I've never even heard of a CPP. Is that kind of like an OPP? I'm just saying, other people's property. I'm just saying, right? But we're going to find out. So without further ado, we want to bring on Mr. Mazin Hassan.
Hey.
Good afternoon, Mazin. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm doing lovely, Josh. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, so Carlos
having
just
us.
alluded to a good point. Thank you for joining us first and foremost. Let's start off this conversation by talking about the company, Leif. What is it? And then let's get into CPP. But first, what is Leif? What do you guys do?
That is a great question. So we are Leif. We have been around since 2017. We help increase access to quality education at an affordable cost. So we're a full-service financing platform. We deal in alternative tuition financing. And it's really an example of outcomes-aligned financing. So outcomes-aligned financing is when a school provides solid outcomes, they help people earn more income, what have you, and then being able to leverage those outcomes and be able to receive financing. So it really ties the student's interests along with the school's interests. So as far as the student goes, they would have several options to pay for their tuition. If they don't have the 10, 15K upfront, what they can decide to do is pay off the tuition using a percentage of their future income or a set monthly amount. But that way, I think it's a fairer way to pay for school. Everyone has skin in the game. The school doesn't make any money unless they're able to consistently help their students achieve better jobs. Students don't have to pay anything until they experience the benefits, the upside, if you will, of this education. So it's really a way of aligning incentives, and we do that a few different ways.
Beautiful. So it's a better way of paying for college versus taking out loans, like so many of us have done over the years.
It's a different way, and some people find that it works better for them because of the way that deferred tuition solutions work. So we were just discussing income share agreements and CPPs, or contingent payment plans.
Yo, what is a CPP? Let's get into that.
Is it like OPP? I'm just asking.
Yeah, you know me. Contingent payment plan. It's a really interesting deferred tuition solution. So let's start there. What is a deferred tuition solution? A deferred tuition solution is a way for a student to pay for a class or to pay for education with future earnings. So I'll use the example of an income share agreement. That's the best known, and I'm happy to discuss a contingent payment plan. Once you understand the one, you'll figure out the other one. So with an income share agreement, you're simply taking a percentage of the overall income for a set period of time. With a contingent payment plan, it's a set amount. So it's, $500, $600 a month for a certain number of months, if you will. So the way an income share agreement would work is a school could say, hey, you can go ahead and enroll in this course. We'll accept you. You can study. You can graduate. We'll help place you in a job. And you only need to pay once you're earning above a certain minimum income threshold. So that's number one. There's a minimum income threshold. Students only start payments once they're making above a certain amount of money. That's a huge differentiator of ISAs and CPPs from loans. Normally with loans, with very many of them, they're not necessarily income contingent. You're going to pay it back. You're going to pay it back. In some cases, you can defer it or whatnot. With an income share agreement or a CPP, contingent payment plan, students do not start repayment until they make above a certain amount of money, above the minimum income threshold. The idea there being that the plan is designed to ensure that payments are affordable and that students aren't asked to make payments at income levels that would put them at the poverty level, for instance. So it's ensuring that payments are affordable. So.
And I'm looking at the CPP terms. Can you elaborate on those a little bit more, where you look at monthly payment amount, payment term?
Absolutely. So I'm looking at it over here. So there's a few certain elements with the CPP. There's the monthly payment amount. That's probably the most important one. So the monthly payment amount comes into effect as soon as I graduate the course and I'm making above a certain amount of money. So if I graduate and I'm making above, $25,000, let's say, that's when the monthly payment amount comes into effect. And it's going to differ for the different programs. So monthly payment happens after graduation. Once I earn a job above the minimum income threshold, I make that monthly payment for a payment term for a certain number of months. The beauty of a CPP or an ISA, the reason some students prefer it to other loans is because of the maximum payment amount. Interest is dealt with differently when it comes to deferred tuition solutions like an income share or a contingent payment plan. Instead of paying back a set amount plus whatever the accumulated interest is and the amount of time that it takes you to pay back, with a CPP or an ISA, it allows students to pay back a set percentage or a monthly amount that includes all the interest charges. So the interest is static, it's pre-calculated, and it doesn't accrue. So yeah, there's a monthly payment amount for a certain number of months, which is the payment term, which reaches a maximum payment amount. Students only ever start paying or start their payments once they're earning above a minimum income amount. So once they're earning above 25, 30K, whatever the minimum income threshold is. And finally, the fifth element of a CPP is the deferment period. There's a maximum deferral period of 48 months. So going back to the minimum income threshold, students only ever start repayment once they're earning above a certain amount. Let's call it 25K. The maximum deferral period is a student protection that's baked into the CPP. If a student does not earn above the minimum income threshold, let's call it 25K, for 48 months, and it doesn't have to be consecutive, so if 48 months accrue overall where the student is not earning above 25,000, above the minimum income threshold amount, they've met their obligation and are relieved of it. So that is a very long answer to your question, Josh. It differs from a loan. There's no absolute obligation to repay. Interest is dealt with differently. So it functions a little bit differently to a federal student loan or even a private student loan in that regard.
I'm curious. Either one of you can answer this. How does it apply for an institution like DSDT? How do you apply here? Are you coming in as a student? You want to seek a program here, get further your education here. Mm-hmm. How does it work?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me interject right quick.
Yeah.
First off, let me just say it this way. Leif doesn't necessarily market or deal with students directly from that sense, right?
Oh, okay.
They deal with institutions, right?
Got it.
The students come to the institutions. We have a variance of financing options that we make available to them. Mm-hmm. Leif happens to be one of the newer ones for us.
Okay.
Right? And in a sense of, and we found quite a few of the students that we are enrolling now are actually interested in the Leif product as opposed to FAFSA, using even their GI benefits to a degree, mm-hmm. depending on what level they are. And so when we're talking about Leif, I think my biggest question that I have, because I'm trying to wrap my head around all of it as well, how do you guys know within the 48 months when I reach more than that 25,000 threshold? And how do you know when the payments are going to kick in? Are you guys like monitoring it in my bank account or one of them? I'm just saying.
That is a great question, Carlos. So really the way that we do it, we are a full service platform and we do our own servicing. So the way that this works, the CPP or an ISA, for a student to be in good standing, they do have to play along with their income verification. So when a student isn't earning income, we ask them to report and verify their income every 30 days. If a student is earning income, working and earning above the minimum income threshold, we check in every 90 days. So we certainly do have our ways. We have a tax reconciliation at the end of the year. We do quarterly LinkedIn scrapes. There are a few estimates in certain cases. So we really do go out of our way to have third-party information corroborate the income verification. It's not just on the honor code.
Right, because I don't know if there's really honor in it. Right, we have to make sure, because otherwise it sounds to me like you guys would be losing a whole lot of money. Right, so you're talking about a program, for instance, like our Tech 6 program. Our Tech 6 program is roughly 15K, mm-hmm. And so we have an individual that would come through Leif, and as I understand it, if you don't meet the minimal income threshold for a 4-year period, it's mm-hmm. as if it's, can I use the word forgiven?
Yeah, it's forgiven.
It's forgiven, mm-hmm. right? So for 4 years, that mm-hmm. means that I'm not filing my taxes. That means that I'm under-reporting every 30 days my income. I don't know who's going to go through all of that in order to try to, stiff 15K. Doesn't seem realistic to me. So at the end of the day, but it also seems as if it's possible.
It is possible. It is possible, Carlos, to have bad actors that choose to reorganize their entire lives.
Wait a minute. What you talking bad actors? What? No, there's no bad actors in the world. I know. right? Doesn't happen. No, never. No.
That's right. Didn't happen to you twice.
Right?
So, I mean, it's certainly possible, Carlos. I won't say otherwise. It's not common. A student would really have to go out of their way, be paid almost entirely under the table, really operate outside of their bank account. We end up, collecting on over 90% of our due payments. So we don't necessarily have too much of a problem. We don't encounter this too much. It certainly does happen, and we do allow for it. But usually the minimum income threshold is so reasonable that it is more likely than not for a student to hit it, and to hit it consistently. It's not a well-designed plan if the majority of students aren't anywhere near the minimum income threshold.
Okay,
so it really does.
Hey, so this past year, the federal government, specifically the VA, started doing something they had never done in the past, which was making institutions repay tuition for those students who dropped the program. Now, in the past, it was always the obligation of the student to repay if they forfeited the program for some reason, right? So now, say I have a student that signs up using their GI benefits, and the institution gets paid for that student, and the student decides, I don't know, 2 days into the program that they don't want to come, and they drop. So now it's up to me to return that payment, and the student is off the hook, and I have to go after the student for that debt that was incurred. So I said all that to say this. You guys seem to be, if I'm hearing it correctly, you seem to be as if you're about to stand in the gap for the Department of Education in FAFSA, right? Because there's a huge population out here that they have these student loans, and they're unable to pay them back, or the federal government is saying that we need to forgive 50K of it, for various reasons. It seems that, yeah, it is a market, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity for these bad actors, if you will, right? And it just seems to me like you come away holding more of the debt than necessarily being able to collect, because that, in essence, is what the federal government is having an issue with, right?
Right. So the federal government tends to underwrite the vast majority of programs. They don't tend to be as strategic. So the reason why we've been successful with some of these deferred tuition solutions is because it's not simply every school and every program that we work with. There is a bias here towards high ROI programs, high quality, affordable cost, a short duration, and most importantly, creating career opportunities for its graduates. So a course and a school that has its pulse on the labor market, if you will. So technology boot camps has been a big one for us. Allied health, skilled trades. So when you limit your focus to transformative programs, with documented high ROIs, you've honed in on a valuable educational service that increases people's incomes. We tend to be more successful when we're financing and working with students that have career progression in mind at a school that's strongly career oriented.
Okay. Do you guys have any service providers that work specifically with you in helping to mature the debt that the student takes on?
And what do you mean by that?
So for the student who may need a little more assistance, and once they find the job or the employment opportunity, are you guys allowed, because I know regulation may not do necessarily, but are you guys even allowed to have some of those conversations with them about, what they can do to make sure that they're meeting the obligations that they signed up for?
So we really do limit our conversations with the students. In that sense, we do reach out to them. There is, I believe, SMS and email communication with them, but we're not so much. So we do try to keep an open line of communication with the students. I don't believe there's any concerted efforts on our part to mature the debt other than the income verification that we go over. One thing that we have been doing lately, and I believe DSDT is going to experience this before long, we do have a career advancement solution known as Riveter, which I believe we're going to be unveiling free of charge at DSDT. That really helps mature students for the workforce. It helps them prepare their resume, interview strategy. So we've really been focused more on helping graduates succeed in the marketplace rather than about educating them about the minutia of their agreement.
And one question I have, Hassan, is the monthly payment amount. Can it be adjusted? Because based on what I'm hearing, you set your monthly payment 4 or 5 years from now, but can that be adjusted in the event when a person begins their career, they're not making as much as they initially thought?
Right. So if they're not making as much as they originally thought, in this example, Josh, are they making below the minimum income threshold?
Sure.
Yeah. So whenever you're making below the minimum income threshold, you enter into a month of deferment, and you have 48 of those. And once you have 48 of those, and you've experienced 48 months where you're earning less than you thought you would, you're relieved of your obligation.
Wow.
Can I borrow a number of CPPs? So if I get done with one program before I find employment, can I enroll to another program that you guys would cover?
That is an interesting question. And have you repaid the initial CPP?
No, I didn't do that when I was going through FAFSA. I'm just saying. What? You guys have strict policy?
You know, it's certainly possible in theory, certainly for a less expensive course on top of maybe a more expensive tuition. The overall idea, though, with a CPP, with an ISA, we want to make sure that students are able to afford the payments, whatever it is, that we're discussing after they pay their rent and, they have their other expenses. So we would be concerned about a student taking out another CPP if the expected monthly payment was too high relative to the expected additional earnings that would result.
Do you guys look at credit reports?
We do.
In consideration? So what's the minimal, which really doesn't matter, but what's the minimal score that you guys would consider?
So it really varies. We do have the lowest credit box in the industry. We're able to work with students that have a 550 credit score and above.
Okay. That's not bad. It's not bad at all.
It's 150 points lower than our competitors will allow.
Really? But that's still taking it. You still taking into consideration utilization and all those things, right? Right.
I believe so.
Okay. So, at what point do I know what ultimately my payments would be, provided that I get employment down the road? Is it written into the initial agreement, or is it a projective?
It's written in the initial agreement, and in fact, it's on the application itself. So if a DSDT student is applying for, one of the free plans, they would know what that monthly payment was before they even completed the application, before they got approved or rejected. So a student has an idea of what that monthly payment is going to be. The success of a program is really all about the design, and it's designed in conjunction with the school and us. And you can create different plans, but a CPP is quite flexible, Josh. In that example that you gave, where a student is earning below what they thought, there's no penalty, there's no problem. They simply enter into a month of deferment, but interest doesn't accrue. There's no late penalty. They're not punished for earning below what the school and themselves thought they would be earning at that time.
Wow, that's pretty solid.
I
That is
think
pretty
so.
solid. And it's also good to know, I'm looking at the benefits, it does not affect your credit score to apply.
Correct.
Wait a minute. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What is
Well,
is this a soft pull or what?
It is. Correct.
Oh, so you guys merely do a soft pull in order to determine whether or not they're credit worthy?
My understanding, Carlos, and I could be mistaken here, is that a hard pull and a soft pull up literally the same amount of information. One simply affects your credit and one doesn't. How interesting
Exactly.
is that?
Now, see, we're going to talk to some of those that are more smart than I. So, but that definitely is going to take some investigating because
Yeah, get
I
back
just
to me
had
on
a
that.
soft pull done, and then they did another hard pull.
Same institution, organization?
Same institution, and I wonder why. Since you say it like that, I wonder why it's done like that. Is it simply the soft pull? No one necessarily looks at to make a determination, but the hard pull, you have those. It's kind of like a secured lien. If you know, when you have a security interest in property, those that come after you actually see that hard inquiry, and they're able to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to extend credit to you. If that's the way I'm looking at it, am I kind of?
Yeah, I really don't know. I would love for you to research this, get back to me.
Absolutely.
I assume it's to deter people from exploring their financial options too much. I really don't know.
Absolutely. You see, I like when smart people say I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't know, but I can find out.
Right. So listen, Mazin, we're going to take a break, pause for station identification, and we're going to come right back after this message, okay? Don't you go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Josh.
I'm Carlos, better known as Crypto Los.
This is the Tech School podcast powered by DSDT.
I just made up Crypto Los in case you didn't.
And that's exactly what this is. It's a great season. Season 4, we're back in the building, side by side.
If you haven't checked out the podcast, make sure that you go to it wherever you get your podcast from.
But in the meantime, see ya.
Hello, I'm Jason Stemmer. I served 5 years as a combat engineer in the United States Army. In the summer of 2019, I joined DSDT to learn advancing technologies in computer support, networking, cybersecurity, many valuable tools in digital media. DSDT is partnered with a lot of veteran-friendly employers, and with the help of DSDT's job placement assistance, I was able to quickly begin work in the IT field. I'm very pleased with this direction, as there is unlimited potential in the technology field, with no signs of growth or demand ever slowing. So come in for a visit, take a tour, and schedule a meeting with an advisor. DSDT really changed my life for the better, and it can change yours.
At a Detroit School for Digital Technology, we strive to provide students who are willing to learn new and exciting skill sets with a quality education in cutting-edge film technology to include recording in HD and 4K formats, drone videography, editing, and state-of-the-art color grading. Our instructors are friendly, knowledgeable industry professionals who are willing to teach. For more information, call us at 313-263-4200 or visit us on the web at dsdt.tech.
Welcome back. Very informational conversation we're having this afternoon with Hassan.
Absolutely. And before we bring him back on, we want to
Right
make
on.
sure that those individuals who may have tuned in later into the broadcast understand and know that there will be a commencement celebration tonight, virtual, of course. You can check us out on YouTube and Facebook. All you have to do is search for DSDT, or you can go to the website. The links are there as well. Go, click it, 6 o'clock p.m., and you'll be taken to the virtual broadcast. So in that live stream, you'll be able to do some chatting and, have some communication with your fellow classmates, or if you're simply just going there and supporting someone else. So make sure that you look that up at 6 p.m. again.
And roughly how many folks are graduating?
I think this one was 150-ish.
Yes.
It's around 150, 152 or something. I know it's 150.
Good number.
Right. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Absolutely, right? And in case you guys didn't notice, I figured that I would do myself since I paid for it anyway. Put my bling bling on.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Just put
How does $200 feel right now?
I feel like Mr. T. Yeah, I feel like Mr. T.
Oh,
I
man.
pity the fool.
Oh man, that stuff looks so fake.
It does, under the
Oh,
lights.
man.
Under the lights, it does. But
Oh.
I'm telling you, when you're standing next to a gas pump and you got all this stuff coming at you, that's pressure selling. At its finest. And hey, I mean, even the best of us fall victim
Yeah.
to somebody sometime. But again, let us bring Mazin back in to the conversation. So if I was going to consider the products that you guys offer, and I know that you were telling me earlier that you were probably the market leader as far as CP. Are there other financing options that you guys offer besides the CPPs and the ISAs?
Yeah, we also offer a tuition installment plan. So, just like when you buy a TV from Walmart on layaway, you pay it off over 24 months. We do have a tuition installment plan where a student just simply pays it over 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, what have you. That tends to be, a pretty good solution for shorter courses and lower tuitions, cheaper tuitions, usually $5K and under. Because the student is simply paying every month, and it's not contingent on them getting a job. It doesn't depend on their income. It's not income contingent. They're simply making the payments. It helps when there's not an overlap of them making payments and them being in class. So it works for a 1 to 2 month course.
What's the most that a student could potentially pay in interest?
Right. So interest is taxed at 11.75%.
Oh, that's good.
It never goes beyond that. There's a ceiling. There's a maximum total payment when it comes to any of the three products that I just mentioned. It's not necessarily the case with a lot of loans because of the nature of interest and the way that it accumulates. That this is the minimum. There's a floor that you have to pay back, but the sky's the limit. There's no ceiling. There's a ceiling for our products. There's a maximum that no student will ever pay above.
Currently, what levels of higher education do you cover as far as trade school, university, law school, medical school, et cetera?
Excellent question. So we've been working with a lot of 2 and 4 year universities and colleges. We're quite big in the alt-ed space, so the tech boot camps, the DSDTs of the world, allied health, we're quite big in, and skilled trades, HVAC, truck driving, welding. So no medical or law schools yet.
So explain to me, if you will, who thought of this?
Excellent question.
It seems like somebody was sitting around one day and said, you know what, I think we can do it better than FAFSA. I think so. I see that you are a partner account executive, right? So does that mean you're one of the founding partners? Or?
No, I wish. You give me too much credit there, Carlos. I am a partner account executive in that I help develop our partnerships with the other schools, with our partner schools like DSDT. So I had a colleague of mine, Brianna, reach out to Jamie, make initial contact, and then I drove that partnership forward, told her what it is that we could do, and she seemed to agree that it would work for her. ISAs, CPPs, these are alternative forms of tuition financing. It's been making waves lately, but it has a long history, a much longer history than a lot of people know. I don't know if you're familiar with Milton Friedman, the Nobel Prize winning economist. So he thought of this in the 1950s. People, ignored him, didn't do too much with it. It was actually Yale University, like I mentioned to you before this podcast, Carlos, that started with income share agreements. And what they did is they had incoming freshmen have their tuition covered by past graduates. It was an interesting idea that didn't quite work. Again, it's all about program design. Their program wasn't designed well enough. It was the middle and high income earners that were offsetting the cost for the under and unemployed students. And ultimately, Yale had to bail out that program actually in 2001. So 3 decades of that piling up on the books.
Wow.
So they've certainly had their time in the sun. I believe that more and more schools now not only have an understanding, but a willingness to experience the benefits that, you know, CPPs and ISAs can afford their students.
Wow. Wow. You say they did it for 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was started in 17, it was the tuition something option. I'll have to look it up, but yeah, it started by Yale in 1971, I believe. And it was, the debt was finally settled by Yale in 2001. So we're looking at 3 decades.
So does Yale, to your knowledge, do they still offer some form of this product?
You know, I can't speak to that, Carlos. That is a good question. I do know that Yale was a pioneer in this sense of income-based repayment. President Clinton is the one who instituted income-based repayment of federal loans in 1994. Where did he go to school? He went to Yale. So I think it's been influential.
I mean, I like Glenn. He's from Arkansas. That's about all I give him right now. I'm just saying. Listen, I absolutely thoroughly have enjoyed you coming on today to break this down to our community. I was speaking with Lisa earlier, and she was explaining to me how many individuals that she was sending through the portal. It seems as if this isn't becoming an alternative. This is becoming the go-to. You know, I mean, because you have individuals that simply don't want to do FAFSA. They don't want to do FAFSA. They don't want to do the traditional subsidized, unsubsidized loans. And this here seems to be a perfect fit for those individuals.
I
Why?
couldn't agree more with
Why?
you, Carlos. Why? It's a different approach that you really have to look at it from the student point of view. And again, I'm going to take you back to the boot camp, the 1-month tech sales boot camp that I did before I started working at Leif. From a student's point of view, for every school out there, any boot camp you can imagine, any IT school, you're going to have to go ahead and pay up front. And if you're lucky, you might not have to pay cash. You know, you might be able to get a loan or whatnot, but you pay the tuition up front, you receive the service, and then you hope for the best. And you hope that what you paid or that what you receive is is worth more than what you paid. When it comes to a deferred tuition solution, when it comes to outcomes aligned financing, when the school has skin in the game, when a student doesn't have to pay until after they can experience the benefits of education, when a student doesn't have to pay until they're making above a certain amount of money, and when a student understands that this is an unsustainable plan for a school that has poor outcomes, because a school will not last for more than a year or two if they're not consistently delivering positive, solid outcomes to their students. So from my point of view, that was extremely attractive. A school was willing to hold itself accountable to some of the benefits that they said would happen, which was very different from my bachelor's. I paid a lot of money and I crossed my fingers and I hoped. And I assumed that that was the way education was.
So if I'm following you correctly, are you trying to tell us here right now on the show that you actually took a CPP yourself?
The reason I started working at Leif is because I ended up taking out a CPP to fund my tech education. I found it so innovative. It blew my mind so much, Carlos and Juan, that I wanted to work for a company that did that, for a company that helped other boot camps, admit students without them having to pay up front. It's such a crazy idea that a school is that confident in what it can do for you, that in essence they're saying, pay me $10K later to make, 30K more now. And they didn't explicitly make that promise to me, Carlos, but they shared data with me that showed the last 3 cohorts were averaging, 30,000 more than I was making at the time. So, that was enough for me. I love the fact that they held themselves accountable, and I jumped.
And I just want one thing to clarify. From what I'm understanding is when it comes to repayment, the interest is set.
Correct. So I'm paying $555 a month for 18 months, which is going to equal the 10K that I took out.
And then
it's a crazy.
And then you're good to go.
I'm good to go. And again, I only start making those payments once I'm earning above the minimum income threshold. So it certainly worked out for me. I had the 10K up front, but I liked their pitch. I trusted them. They trusted me. And I believe it's a win-win. I increased my income substantially.
Mr. Hassan, you can. I just want to say, listen, my mans. Wow. I wish that I had more individuals surrounding me like you. Mm-hmm. You are saying not only did I drink the Kool-Aid, but I now sells the Kool-Aid, man. I love that. I absolutely love that because it's infectious. You believe in the product so much that you're out saying now that, listen, more people have to know about this, and this to me was the best alternative after all the other forms of financing.
100%. Carlos, I went to the best university in Canada. My 1-month boot camp did me more good than 4 years at the greatest educational establishment in Canada. I'm such a believer of CPPs and alternative education. I'm proof that it can transform your life, that you can earn significantly higher income in a relatively short period of time. And it was one of the best decisions that I've made for myself educationally and financially.
I think you just hit home the fact, once again, I literally was sitting talking to someone last night as we were watching fireworks. And the conversation was about education and what it will look like in the next 40, 50 years. Mm-hmm. It won't be what it was in 99.
No.
People are hip to the scam, right? Everybody doesn't want to take out $150,000 in order to go to a junior college for 2 years and get a degree that's going to be useless at the end of the day. Right? There's so many other ways in order to get the information in order to be successful. I have a kid now. Yeah, I got a kid, right? So I have a daughter, and she just turned 17 a couple weeks ago. And so she's now entered the workforce, and she's about to graduate from high school this year. I want so much for her to consider other forms of education than simply going to a 4-year university. I really do. And, it's like I always equate to individuals. If I was a McDonald's owner, you wouldn't catch me going around the world in every stop eating at McDonald's. Why? Because I own a McDonald's. I know what goes into secret sauces, right? But take it from the perspective of being a school owner, being a school administrator. I know what goes into the back room of the school. And I truly, wholeheartedly believe what we experience today, and thanks to COVID, it helped to expedite a lot of what these new products are, and what these new institutions are. People are at the point now to where they believe wholeheartedly they don't have to go back to a brick and mortar ever again to get educated.
Amen.
And so those individuals, to me, in the long run, are going to have some of the better educational experiences that man has ever known. I believe that wholeheartedly. Josh, I don't know what to do with this guy.
Bring him back.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk to the founder of Leif now. Does he know that he has people like you working there, or she? He or she? He or she?
Thank you for asking. It's a he. I think he does, but I'll double check.
He has one of the best on his team right now. I love that. It's like you get a mindset of a product. It doesn't necessarily have to be education, but whatever it is, you love it so much. You say, man, listen, I want to sell this because people have to know.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. That's
I think
powerful.
so.
And especially when you're talking about education.
Yes.
Yeah.
And paying for it.
Yeah. People perish for the lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
More people need to be educated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, I wholeheartedly, on behalf of Josh and myself, I want to thank you for taking out time of your busy schedule today in order to come on here and explain to at least us, if nobody else hears it, explain to us the differences between the ISAs, the CPPs, so that we have a better understanding when we're trying to convey this message, information to our teams. Every morning I have a meeting with my admissions representatives, and one of the biggest things or challenges that I've had is with CPPs. And I know that Lisa came on board, and she's been doing a lot of work in trying to get individuals to use them. And I was just, no. I don't like change. I don't like too much change.
But now, knowledge is power.
yeah. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I get the cow up front, and I can pay for it later.
When I'm
No,
able to
CCTV.
pay for it.
Yes.
When I am able, and if I'm never able for the 4 years after it, we're going to wipe that debt clean.
Wow.
Now, see,
So be it.
DSDT, we used to do debt forgiveness for a long time. You know what debt forgiveness was to me?
I'll write off.
If it simply was, if I had a student that wasn't able to pay the tuition, I just write it off, right? But that hurts us in the long run when it comes to auditing. I get an audit, they want to make sure that I have a lot of accounts receivables.
Yes.
I can't show if I just simply write off
Yeah.
all that bad debt, So it's a win-win-win for the institution as well as the individual. And in fact, the VA kind of, Veterans Administration, they kind of mimic a program like that now too. Not VRAP, but VetTech. VetTech is kind of like that. So VetTech, they pay basically 50% of the tuition before and while the student is taken, or before and after the student finishes the program. Then the other 50% is contingent upon them finding employment. I mean, you find that more organizations now are kind of in that thought process. No, we're not just going to pay you up front, for these students and let them get this education, and at the end of the day, they're not getting the jobs.
Yeah.
Maybe they ought to bring this to traditional education all the way across the board.
That's why I asked him the question earlier.
It certainly would work with medical and law school. It's quite a high tuition amount, but their income earning potential is so much greater. It certainly would work for more traditional forms of education. Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. See, we're going to have get you introduced to some of the medical institutions around here. Do you guys offer products to them right now, though?
We absolutely do. Yeah, we're actually reaching out to allied health schools currently. It's certainly something that we think provides value.
Now listen, if I say wow one more time, I keep hearing myself, wow, because it just seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah. Let me end on this note, Carlos. Speaking of scams, my biggest issue with a CPP, I kid you not, was simply believing that it was real. That it was a legitimate way to pay for school, because I never heard of this school before that I was thinking of going to, and then they're proposing that I pay through this plan that I've never heard of. It's almost too good to be true compared to the existing ways that a student has, to pay for education.
You see, you just lost all your brownie points with me when you did that. See, you compared your experience of a scam with my scam.
Doesn't compare.
You took a risk and you won, right? I took a risk and I lost. So no comparison.
Oh man.
Listen, Mr. Hassan, we definitely appreciate you again today for blessing us with your presence. The product seems amazing, and we're definitely going to use it more here at DSDT. And at the same time, you're incredible. You really are.
Thank you.
Congratulations on everything that you've set yourself to do and the value that you've gotten from the potential product and helping to get others to understand it. Because I'm going to tell you, I was one of your naysayers, right? I mean, I don't want to shoot you up or anything. My first thing was to come and listen to understand what am I missing, and you just simply laid it out. And not only did you explain it eloquently, but you're a living testimony. Hey, listen, man, don't just listen. I'm actually using this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't get a better salesman than that. Not that you're selling me. I'm just saying. Right?
It sells itself.
I'm just saying. Josh, what are you thinking?
What I'm thinking is it's a better way for people to afford college, to afford higher education. And it's more on their terms. That's what this appears to be, and that is a game changer.
Yeah.
That's the
Agreed.
bottom line, because when you're taking out loans and things of that nature, FAFSA, it's on their terms. This is more on your terms.
Yeah. You know what? And as I hear you say that, I think that with all of the products that are coming to market in trying to help individuals pay for higher education, at some point, enough is enough, and the market becomes oversaturated, and you don't beat free. You don't beat free. You know, and so is that ultimately where we're headed? I don't know. Maybe in 40 years, that's what the marketplace looks like as far as education. Education, everybody should be able to get it, and there's so many different forms, and I cannot understand why we have individuals that still think just because they are a doctor or just because they have this degree, they're so much better than those that haven't went through those channels in order to get educated. I don't get that. But maybe that's where we're headed. I don't know. But I tell you what, come back 50 years, we'll talk about it. I'm just saying. Listen, my friend, you have a great day. Thank you again for showing up, and I look forward to having more conversations with you, okay?
Likewise, thank you both for having me. It's been a pleasure. And congratulations to DSDT's newest commencement class.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Rock solid.
Listen, I'm still trying to figure out why why did he compare his scam to my scam?
He was just trying to be a little courteous, just trying to help you out a little bit,
I'm just saying, they got me. He didn't get got.
No.
He's winning. You know,
And he's trying to help others win.
for all intents and purposes, this young man is winning. You know, I wasn't so lucky to be able to go to college and spend all those years to get educated. I wasn't so lucky. So I've gotten an education in other facets. And one of the biggest problems that I had was that I couldn't get along. I could never get along. And my wife would tell me right now, well, you had to have been filling out the paperwork wrong. Maybe I was. Hell, I was young like everybody else trying to figure it out. You know, and it just seems now that every attempt is being made to make sure that people have the tools they need to succeed. You know, you don't have to depend on Carlos, your daddy. You don't have to depend on your mother. If you really, really, truly want it, you can make it happen. And it doesn't have to cost $150K for you to make it happen.
No, it
that
doesn't.
I don't get yet.
Yeah.
I don't get that one, right? Why am I going to go to school for 8 years, walk away with $150,000 to $300,000 in debt, and the first job I get, it's a mortgage payment on top of trying to survive every day? That's the biggest scam ever. And we have to figure out how to have more programs like DSDT offers. DSDT has a 1-month program that you can come literally for 1 month.
I'll slide that in.
And after taking that program, then, you know, we pair you with our workforce employment agents in order to find you a job. I mean, you where can you go and actually get that? I don't do junior colleges actually offer 1 month programs?
No.
No, they don't. No, they don't. And whatever they offer you, are they telling you at the end that they're going to work with you in order to get employed? No. No, they're not. And if you got one that says that they are, run fast because it is a scam.
If you could, Carlos, with the 150 students who are graduating this evening, do you have a percentage already of how many are walking right into employment?
I don't. Now that I'm not. Look, don't put me in front of the light because I don't know.
Okay.
Those statistics would definitely have to come through admissions,
Gotcha.
and I can find out and I can report back next week what those numbers are.
But nevertheless, congratulations to all of them.
Definitely congratulate them.
And what's a little sneak peek? What can people expect when they tune in?
Oh, so there's a commencement speech by one of the board members. Her name is Julie Spiller.
Julie Spiller.
Julie Spiller, she's been in the industry roughly 30 some years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she definitely has some words of wisdom that she wanted to share. Then you have the newest instructors on the team to give some words of encouragement. One, Bernard Gleaton.
Okay.
And you also have Robert Cox. And, of course, Jamie opens up with a welcome. And then there is another board member. Her name is Tamiko Ogburn. And she's worked in the education realm for a number of years and definitely has some words of wisdom to share. And at the end of the day, as I stated, we have a number of programs. We have Tech 2, Tech 6, and film production that we have graduates from. And, you know, still, we're not at the point to where we want to have everybody under the same roof and risk, you know, any type of contagions.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, we thought that at least this time around, let's do another virtual because it would be easier for everyone. Keeping in mind that DSDT now has students around the country, not necessarily just in a Detroit. And so with that being understood, we wanted everybody to be able to participate in some form of fashion. And again, a lot of the things that we adopted because of the pandemic, they aren't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So you might as well embrace them now, right? So we're going to have this virtual commencement tonight, again, starting at 6 o'clock for those who would love to attend. And believe me, if anybody come on your feed acting a jack, I will kick them off. I'm just saying, I'll kick them off. I'm going to sit and tell them, look, take this person off, take that person off, kick them out the room, right? Because I definitely don't want anybody to rain on you guys' shine. You worked hard for this, you deserved it, and I, too, hope that you find the employment that you're looking for, right?
Right on. All right, well, we'll tune in this evening. Mm-hmm. Carlos, in the meantime, great show.
Absolutely.
Yet again. Well, that will do it for the Tech School Podcast powered by DSDT. See ya.